Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 8 today for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Monaco GP, then be sure to go check that one before you see this one. A really scintillating race with a one-off livery as well, and everything was pretty damn rosy following that episode. But we come into this one then with a sponsor renewal reminder. Atlantic, the very first kind of secondary sponsor we signed away from Shark, which is obviously our main title sponsor, they are up for renewal. I mean, so we could either renew their contract simply or look for a different sponsor. So I thought I'd go in. Our team acclaim level has gone up a lot higher than it was when we first signed Atlantic, so we can go for different sponsors, and certain sponsors are now paying out more, or more are just available basically to us. And so having looked at everything, I was looking at the base level of what we could get every single week no matter what, and then also the bonus goals, because some of these sponsors have some really bonkers bonus payouts for the goals you get. Some of them are quite difficult goals, i.e. the ones where you need to try and get into first place for a few laps. Very difficult for us to do right now, but something like, finishing in the top 12 and getting, over 200k of a bonus just for getting in the top 12, I feel like that's something we're aiming for every single race now. So I thought, compared to Atlantic, which I did think was kind of an easy goal to get, just complete 75 laps, the sponsor I went for in the end of it is going to be, I think it's called Payouts, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's got a slightly lower weekly payout, I think that is, compared to Atlantic, but the bonus goal is only getting to the top 12. I say only, it might be difficult in some races in the future, you never know, but I feel like that's a goal we're always going for constantly right now with the team where we're at in terms of the R&D. So added up together, that's a much higher payout if we get that bonus compared to Atlantic. So a positive step forward in that kind of regard ahead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Of course, we move back to our actual livery. The one-off livery was, well, obviously a one-off for Monaco, so we go back to the new livery we introduced at the Dutch GP, that kind of much better blend of white, black, and neon green that we've got going on in the car. We also swapped around some of the sponsors. I thought because Shark is our main title sponsor, I may as well actually put them back on the car a little bit more, and also kind of place them in a certain way to get the Shark logo on the halo, because the logo is actually a little bit larger than the other one. So just a little bit of a kind of like a very nitpicky sort of thing in terms of the way the car looks from the onboard and whatnot, and then just changing around some of the colours from what we had at the Monaco GP to suit that one-off livery. So we're ready to go then, advancing time towards the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And so as per usual, we've got some activities to also fill in the time. We're on the 25th of May right now in the calendar, and we've got till 4th of June in the next month. So quite a lot of time, actually, you can see on the left-hand side. So plenty of things to kind of fill in. So we've got a very chunky sponsor activation program there with a vehicle advertisement, I should say. So 4 days on the bottom right, and you can see it's a massive win-win in terms of the team acclaim going up, but also the cash going up. So I suspect it's probably like an advertisement sort of thing. So we're going to choose that 4-dayer as well as that 3-day team building, which across the board is going to improve the morale of every single department. So always very important, and that leaves us only 2 days. So it's a choice of the middle two. I thought I'd go with the sponsor event once again, trying to boost the team acclaim as much as we can. So really good, but I really like that team building one. The 3-dayer, or overall we spend a bit of cash, but because we're making some cash from the sponsor advertisement, I think overall with the 3 activities we actually make a little bit of money rather than spending more than we actually made. So really decent stuff and good use of every single day we've got between now and the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We come through the emails. We've been told that Honda have provided another free update for us. That's going to be a reliability update, I actually found out in the R&D tree. So don't get too excited. It's not a performance update. It's just a reliability, but obviously that's always still welcome. The more reliability upgrades we get from Honda for free, the less we have to worry about on the car. So far we've done one kind of minor kind of general R&D on the reliability. So right now we haven't really gone into it too much, but at the same time we haven't needed to at the moment. We've still got plenty of components to go through, and it's early days, and I feel like at this stage of the career, the first season, kind of got more important departments to look at. And so in light of that, speaking about going into other departments and focusing on that, last episode I got you guys to vote on what HQ department I should invest in next with the money we've got, and you guys voted for aerodynamics. So we're going to go ahead and invest in that. The one I'm going to go for is the fabrication. That will cost actually 2.5 million. So didn't realise that was 2.5 rather than 2. So a little bit more money than I wanted to part ways with, but you kind of have to do it. There's no way you can't not eventually invest in all these departments. So the fabrication upgrade on this department means that now we can make 2 upgrades at the same time in the aero department. So right now we're at the very kind of awkward stage of the R&D R&D tree where we've got one little stalk for drag reduction, but once we get deeper into the tree and we actually go a little bit left and right on the kind of major aero upgrades on the front and rear downforce, we can start trying to maybe develop them at the same time and save us some hassle and some time basically that way of doing it at the same time. Of course, there's always a chance they fail, but that's always going to happen. And so we now move on through the week. We've got a little bit of a low cash reserve there on the kind of top right, you can see, but obviously as we go on through this quite long week till the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we'll earn some more money, and that kind of will go away. That's always going to kind of come up just in case, because they're wary of you needing enough money to renew your teammate's contract. Unfortunately, there you can see in the background, Carl, my engineer, is telling me that the aero upgrade we had, that little minor drag reduction update, has failed on the car. Really annoying, quite gutting. So we're gonna have to wait one more race for Canada to come in. It's useful for Canada. It will be useful, and it now will not fail. It will definitely come in for Canada, but it would have been also supremely useful as well for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, of course, because there's that long kind of motorway main pit straight. So it would have been handy, but alas, it happens. I can't wait till later on this series where we've got the HQ upgraded so much so that like nothing fails on the car, and that we've got we can just fly in upgrades basically. But that's obviously a long time to go. Looking at how much everything costs in terms of every department and every level costs more. It's going to take so much cash, so much time to earn that much money and have the investment come in, which it's a great thing. It's going to be a nice grind, but it's quite a long way away, and obviously you're always wanting more in these kind of instances. But yeah, so the aero side, you guys want me to invest in that for the HQ, and I think we should be looking at that in the R&D as well, not just the HQ, but actually physically on the car, doing upgrades on that, because like I said, with drag reduction updates, we also improve the straight line speed, so you kind of kill two birds with one stone, like I literally said last episode as well. But we go into Azerbaijan then, with the other teams around is having some more upgrades. Unfortunately, Alfa Romeo really improving quite a lot there on the R&D tree, it would seem. So I don't really know where we are. On paper, apparently we're just at the lower end of that pack. But then you look at Monaco, you look at Spain, and in reality we're a little bit better, because I feel like our engine definitely plays a bigger factor, and it doesn't show up in the R&D chart like that. And also at the same time, you got to remember, I think on this year's game now, the reliability is also built into the R&D, so that's also something that can kind of maybe, make it seem worse than it is. And clearly on track, the car is performing a lot better, a little bit more competitive than it might do on that R&D graph. So we go into qualifying then, and it is raining at the very start of Q1. So we are doing some flying laps on the intermediates, 2 laps to be exact, and we improve a decent amount on that second fly, but it doesn't really matter because it actually dries out by the end of Q1, literally with about 3 minutes to go. Everyone's strapping on a set of slick tyres, so we go out immediately gaining, nearly, a whole second through the first corner alone, basically, on the exit. And by the time we come through to the end of the lap, we've gained nearly 12 seconds here. So absolutely ridiculous kind of pace difference between the Inters and the slick tyres here around Azerbaijan. So we're in last place now, but everyone has set their time. Checker flag's fallen across the line for us, and it is going to be up into P12 and Q2 for us. I didn't think we were actually going to do this. I thought due to the R&D chart, I was a bit worried we were going to be straight knocked out in Q1, especially when I saw rain as well. But the dry period there really mixed things up, and both myself and Mick Schumacher get through into Q2. So, like I literally just said, already early days in the season, we can already stop kind of looking so intently at the R&D chart as gospel, because clearly we got some pace here. We also got a little bit lucky, obviously, but that always happens in F1. So myself and Mick through to the second part of qualifying. That will be bone dry, so there won't be anywhere to really hide, so to speak, in Q2 as the kind of sun comes out and as the clouds start to part. But as the sun goes down as well, it's quite dark around here at Azerbaijan, around the streets of Baku. But we go and set our first flyer. We get a little bit frustrated here though, because Hamilton catches me at the end of the lap, so I kind of had to move left, and he was always going to overtake me. I tried to get a bit of a toe off him with DRS open, kind of tucking in for a little bit of a slipstream right at the end, but I knew at the start that wasn't a very good lap, and it's not, as we're behind Schumacher and we've got time to find. So here we are then on our second and last flying lap of Q2. We've gained about a second here, but that's really not going to mean much because Schumacher's time in P15 there, I think that's about 5 or 6 tenths behind Giovinazzi. So in another sense, yes, I just banged on about the R&D chart not being gospel. In a way, this session is telling us definitely we have lost some pace maybe to our kind of, rivals and the teams around us compared to, like, the Spanish Grand Prix in China and whatnot, because as we come across the line, we gain a lot of time, like a heap of time, and it's still only enough to get us up into P15. So, in the end, that is where we are, P15 and P16, so... yeah, I mean, the rain definitely did help us out in Q1, and we got a little bit lucky there. But, race is a different story. Baku, don't know how we'd go, really. It's a street circuit, but at the same time, you have to kind of lower the aero, and we have compromised with 5.5 wings, so not that low, but obviously the car doesn't really have that much downforce to go any lower than 5.5 wings at the moment. So, compromise a little bit, I guess, compared to, 11.11 of Monaco, for example. So, I think the race, there's always a chance to do well at Baku, because a safety car could come up. Tyre wear could be a factor as well. I don't know what the strategy will be like. That'll be an interesting one. But clearly over one lap, we're a little bit stationary right now at the moment. And in F1, if you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards. So definitely longing for a lot more upgrades in the next few episodes. But right now, just have to do the best job we can. Let's go to the grids and see what we can do on Sunday.
Good afternoon and welcome to Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and for Lance Stroll. So let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Baku City Circuit then, an unpredictable 3.7-mile track around the streets of the Azerbaijan capital. 20 turns for our drivers to navigate today, including the infamous Turn 8, one of the tightest and most challenging corners of the season. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. Why don't we start by talking about Carlos Sainz? Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday puts him on pole, and starting alongside him P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Max Verstappen and Albon, Perez, Norris, Gasly and Esteban Ocon, Kvyat, Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi and the owner-driver, Schumacher, Raikkonen, Romain Grosjean and Carlos Sainz. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Magnussen, Russell, Latifi and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Right, so in terms of race strategy then for this Grand Prix, bit of an odd one really. Both strategies are a one-stop and both involve starting on the hard tyre. So a very peculiar decision by the team, but I guess, there's a reason behind that, maybe wanting to be quick at the end. And having looked at the grid around us, looks like Schumacher's going to start on the hard tyres as well, and a few others. So it's not a bonkers strategy, it's not like a glitch or anything like that, but just a very odd sight, obviously, seeing a pair of hard tyres as the first set. But Azerbaijan's always been a bit of a weird one in terms of it's a one-stop and it's more about track position and kind of every tyre, bar in the soft, but the medium and the hards are very similar tyres. So we're gonna go for that bottom strategy to a set of mediums, because I feel like the soft tyres are just a little bit too degrading, and I want to have that consistency in the second stint. It's a bit of a stab into the unknown. I'm not usually a big fan of the hard tyres, but both strategies say we should start on them, so there must be something to that. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here in Baku. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway from P14 on the grid, as Sainz actually had a grid penalty, you may have seen, as we make a great overtake on Stroll and Raikkonen, or tried to get one on Raikkonen. We got Stroll into turn 1. It was a decent getaway there, good traction found, and then using some ERS to good use and through into turn 2. Just gonna about squeeze Raikkonen out of the way. Giovinazzi also getting in the mix there. I don't actually know where he's come from. I think he must have been on the outside of Raikkonen and got completely, Raikkonen got so squeezed out that Gio came out of nowhere, and he actually comes out of nowhere again to fly down the inside of not only me, but also Esteban Ocon. He had a good look at Ocon as well. So the Alfa Romeos, I said at the very start that they had some improvements and upgrades as of late, clearly looking very punchy indeed. Obviously, Kimi got that fantastic result back at the the Spanish Grand Prix, sorry. It was P6 for Kimi, flying high, so the Alphas looking a lot better these days. I should say the Romeos of the Alphas, not the Tauris, as we now move on to lap number 2, P13 then, and ahead of us, speaking of the Alpha Tauri, Kvyat battling away and trying to keep Ocon at bay, but Ocon the long way round on the right-hand side, and the two make some contact as Kvyat, his car goes a little bit wayward, and Giovinazzi now pulling through, yellow flags behind us. We've got some ERS to use. We used a little bit on the exit there, but then saving some for later in the lap. Giovinazzi going on the outside, Kvyat with a big lock-up, and now we find the space on the inside of the Russian, maybe into the next right-hander. It's very fine on the left-hand side, but we get the job done, and we're up into P12. So a bit opportunistic there, because I think Kvyat pretty much just got completely flustered by being attacked by Ocon and Giovinazzi, but we made it work. But now losing some pace to Gio, because Gio is actually flying in this Grand Prix, and he goes and overtakes Ocon here. You can see, though, I am settling into this Grand Prix. It's a case of I'm not massively quick at the moment, but I feel like that's always going to happen on hard tyres, on heavier fuel. Right now, this is not where we're trying to be fast. With these strategies that our team suggested, you know, the hards to softs or hards to mediums, it's all about just trying to limit the damage right now on these hard tyres with the heavier fuel, and then you're going to be quicker at the end compared to everyone else. Like, you know, Giovinazzi up ahead, one of the reasons why he's probably very quick compared to me right now, and quick in general, he's on the soft tyres, whereas Ocon hards, Stroll hards, Kvyat on hards. All of us are doing this strategy, whereas at the end of this race, Giovinazzi will be on hard tyres probably, and he'll be the slower one. So at the moment, he may look very, very quick, but just got to be patient in this Grand Prix. That's the key thing here. So we're on towards lap number 4 then. Giovinazzi still going hammer and tong with Ocon here in this Grand Prix, and Ocon is finally overtaken, maybe now for the final time, by the Italian. But now can we try and get in the back of Ocon, because of course he's on the same strategy as us, and we've said it last episode, in the last few, that Renault have been looking a little bit slower than they did in the opening 2-3 rounds of this season. So can we try and go toe-to-toe with the French and open DRS, use a lot of ERS here on the exit, pretty much about half that straight using ERS, but around the outside, easy does it. Ocon, little bit of a graze on the wall there, but I think on this year's game, they've actually changed the layout of the circuit a little bit. I think they've actually widened that part of the circuit after some feedback from the real-life F1 drivers. So I think that corner that usually was a guaranteed cause of chaos in F1 2019, if you had an AI car on the inside, it's a little bit less likely to happen now, I feel, as we now move through to lap number 5 and being attacked by Ocon. So this battle's still going on, so the Renault putting up a good fight. We have a massive amount of oversteer on the exit. They're just getting a little too eager on the throttle, and oh, Ocon really pinching us there at the apex, and we kind of slid through with him and drifted through the corner. Stroll comes through as well now, and the Racing Point is overtaking the Renault. We go defensive on the Canadian, but he goes the long way round, very close stuff, bit of argy-bargy there, and we maintain the position though, just about P11. So having to put up a real fight now, so not fighting the guys on softs, it's just a straight fight between everyone else on a one-stop, starting on hard tyres. So these, you know, there's you know, a benefit to putting up a fight right now, because these guys, I am very much racing, I think, all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. I expect them to be with me at the end of this thing on the medium tyres, all the soft tyres, whereas with Giovinazzi, there wasn't really much point fighting him that much, because now he's off and trying to chase Lando Norris on the minimap, and he's actually closing up to the McLaren there, you can see on the minimap. So the Alpha really has improved quite a lot, and the McLaren maybe not so. But as we go through to lap number 6 then, we've got Gasly in. So the Alpha Tauri was really flying high there, I think that was, of Gasly. I think, or maybe it might be in the Red Bull, actually, can't quite tell by the colour. But Leclerc has pit in as well. So the top guys, who were on a set of soft tyres, I assume, having made it through into Q3, have now pit for their first pit stop. And you can see Leclerc, though, getting held up quite a fair bit here by Norris. I said Norris was under pressure from Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, I think, Giovinazzi's overtaken Lando Norris. And Norris is really struggling on his set of soft tyres that he started the Grand Prix on. He must have made it through into Q3. P3, but in hindsight, probably did want to, because he's now really struggling in this first stint. So I would say he's probably going to come in on this lap, I would say. But look how slow he is, and look how much he's holding up Leclerc to the point where we're actually actively closing up to the Ferrari car. In our car of our own. So, you know, you can see the pace difference massively affected by Norris here. And Leclerc will definitely be quite angry in the cockpit as we fly through the right-hander kink and onto the, like I always say, a motorway, pit straight, opening up DRS when he comes. We're not going to use ERS, though, because there's no point at this stage, because Norris is going to pit. And even though I'm closing up to Leclerc, I'm not fighting him. I'm not fighting a Ferrari, so there's no point using extra ERS to try and keep up with the Ferrari car, because in the end, he's always going to pull away from me, especially so that he's on medium tyres, so maybe the Ferrari's doing a 2-stop, or maybe just a very ambitious 1-stop on mediums, but either way, he's going to be much quicker, as you can clearly see here on the exit, so I do use a little bit of ERS, but just not that much, you know, saving a lot for the last stint. I want to have at least about 40% ERS for this second stint today, because on the mediums, that's when we're going to, you know, make the punch, like I said, and try and catch up with the cars. There definitely will be some at the end of this Grand Prix, I think, that will be a little bit further up the road, but they'll be slower because they'll be on hard tyres. So we need to kind of prepare ourselves a little bit long term for that part of the race, basically. So kind of, you know, playing a little bit of a big strategic game in that kind of sense with how we're managing the cars. Now Giovinazzi comes in for his first pit stop. So he's stretched those soft tyres quite a long way, to be fair. He did quite well, actually, as well, because he was very quick, actually, compared to Lando Norris. But we are now up into P3 of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near P3 by the end of this thing. This is not like the Monaco Grand Prix, like last episode, but at the moment, we've got some decent track position. But Hamilton now will come through to try and overtake us, and we're not going to put up much of a fight at all, really. You can see there I went to purposely in lean mixture to save the fuel, and then we're just going to stick behind in standard and use that slipstream to help us pull along a little tiny blip of the ERS to try and push us along a little bit. But generally speaking, just no need to put up a fight against Hamilton. He's not in our race. He's fighting the Ferrari cars. We're fighting the likes of Raikkonen, Ocon, Giovinazzi, obviously, once we meet him back in the track. Speaking of Raikkonen, here he is then, lap number 10, and coming at us at a rate of knots on medium tyres. I don't actually know if Kimi Pit already wants in this race or not. I don't think he did. I think he's just now found his feet a little bit here on the medium tyres. But he's overtaken us. We didn't use too much ERS, though. I didn't want to, because, like I said, I'm trying to save up. But that means the AI was able to overtake us, because the AI like to use a lot of ERS, I found, on the straights. We are going to try and re-overtake him, though, having said that, because I do want to try and keep track position against Raikkonen, because I think we are fighting him legit, you know, toe-to-toe, full position here. So I think he's going to make a pit stop onto hard tyres. I'll make one onto mediums, but we'll still be on the same piece of tarmac. So that's why I thought it was useful to re-overtake him and try and get that. And Ocon actually goes and attacks him as well. And as we roll on onto lap 13, then our pit window opens up for the first pit stop. We're going to go a little bit longer, though, and try and keep up and cover off Ocon a little bit, because I think Ocon's looking quite dangerous, actually, because even though we overtook him quite easily, he's kind of kept us quite honest this entire time, just behind Sebastian Vettel. As you can see, Vettel has pit along with Leclerc, like you saw, and so he's kind of out of sync of our race. He's not in our race, so we kind of let him go very easily with lean mixture. We kind of lift and coast into the next corner and actually nearly rear-end him there, so that was a little bit iffy there, but thankfully no major contact made, so we continue on, and like I said, trying to cover off Ocon as best we can, and so we continue to follow behind Vettel. Ocon keeping up with me, and then right behind him is Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen. So these two are also trying to find their way through. They're a little bit lower down the order compared to Leclerc, Vettel, Hamilton. So they've got to make their way through a few cars, including myself and Ocon. So Bottas making the move on the left-hand side. Doesn't actually get it done, though, because Ocon blocks him off there quite nicely. But he goes for the second bite, maybe, into turn one on the outside there. Ocon defends to the inside. A little bit of a wobble, and actually Ocon really defends as hard as he can, actually. But in the end, Bottas will get that and goes around the outside and gets that position. So now it's going to be ourselves versus Valtteri Bottas, and again, just going to let him through, not really fight it too much, because he's not in our race there, but we're going to maintain rich mix, because I do want to try and push on a little bit, because we are probably coming in on this next lap, so I'm going to try and use Bottas as a real toe. So we've let Bottas through, didn't fight him too much, but I also want to use him as a real pull along on this next straight. So we're going to put the car up into rich mix and just try and kind of come through and use the DRS to good effect. But I'm actually so close to Bottas on the exit corner that we actually catch him up with some ERS there. And so we're actually going to go for a move here, and we're going to start battling him. I didn't really want to, but here we are then, battling Bottas, and he's actually very slow for some reason here through the corners. We're still side by side now. Massive lock-up. Oh, so close to hitting Bottas into the wall. And we made a bit of contact with his end plate on the bargeboard area. We're still going the long way round. It's fantastic racing, really. Look how fine it is to the wall on the left-hand side. And we're still going at it towards the castle section, maybe. Side by side. Massive lock-up again. So close to the wall. And no, we're not doing this. We can't go side by side to the castle section. Oh, my Lord. That is very, very close. We almost did it. We did it last year as well, I think. Season 1 of my F1 2019 career mode. I think we made a 2x2 work with a Haas car, but with the Mercedes car, Bottas was having none of it and really pushed me right to the edge there. We had to back out of that, but we almost made it too wide in the castle section. But what a thrilling battle that was on lap number 15. Didn't mean to do it, like I said. I didn't want to, but because we're coming in on this lap, I wanted to also equally push hard and not just, you know, slow down and let him through and let Verstappen through. So in doing so, we had to kind of just battle him. So, I mean, you guys know me. I love a good fight on track, so I'm not going to say no to it, but it probably did lose us a little bit of time. Hopefully it didn't hinder us too much in our overall Grand Prix outlook, but we're in now, as is Ocon, I think. So we've literally covered him off perfectly here, so as I wanted to. Seen him off, and so now we're in for a set of medium tyres. I think Ocon is the same way, I think, because he's starting hard tyres as well. So you can see just ahead on the screen, the Alfa Romeos have gone past. They're on hard tyres though, we're on mediums. So now is our time to shine as we come out just behind Ricciardo, that is, and ahead of the Haas, crucially, just ahead of him there, so we won't have to battle Grosjean, obviously our rival in the season right now. We have to try and beat him toe-to-toe to get some extra driver acclaim, which will be very important indeed, so good to come out ahead of him on the hard tyres. So the plan is basically, Ocon behind me has to overtake Grosjean, and then he has to try and join me and Ricciardo, as you're seeing right now on lap 18, closing up to both Alfa Romeos, who are on the hard tyres. And Giovinazzi, I must say, compared to Raikkonen, I think he's really feeling it, and he's slowing up this entire train. I've caught up Ricciardo in no time at all, because Giovinazzi's been so slow, and I've seen ahead on circuit. His car's like wobbling about, and he's feeling the tyre wear, making a few mistakes here, so he's holding up his teammate and Ricciardo. So, you know, we've got how long left? We've got 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and it's all to play for. There are some points on the table. We're P13. If we overtake all 3 of these cars, we're in the points-paying position. So we do have a serious finish on offer here at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's been a very long burner race, and so this very strange unorthodox strategy starting on the hards is now going to pay off, hopefully, as now Gio gets overtaken by his teammate Raikkonen. Ricciardo trying to make a move. I can't make any move right now because I'm just kind of stuck behind with a bit of a roadblock of these two side by side, but Ricciardo takes Giovinazzi very wide there and puts him off, and so we've got a bit of room to work with. Dive down the inside, very fine on Ricciardo's rear end, lock up on the front left, but just about get the car slowed down in time and get the job done on the Italian. So the man who was looking so quick at the start, remember, compared to us, we're now the much faster car, and we're now closing up to Ricciardo, who again, we can't really, you can see there, we're really not pulling any kind of distance on Ricciardo. He's catching up to Raikkonen. I'm not catching up to him, so I don't know if that's the engine power, maybe, like I said, the AI are using way more ERS than I am at this stage, or I don't know, drag reduction upgrades maybe needed on our car, but for some reason it was quite frustrating on the main straight. I couldn't pull them in, but I will say on this second straight, much better. So I reckon the AI are using a lot less ERS on this straight, and so we use some ERS, DRS open, we have a much better kind of closer look at Ricciardo, and he's actually offset himself because he's hit the curb, he's wobbling about a little bit, he hits the next curb and goes really slow, and we undercut him there on the right hand side and get a great overtake midway through the second sector. So I was expecting an easy pass in a straight line, or just a pass of some sort in a straight line, you know, a bit more of a simple one. In the end though, made a quite nice and a heroic one as we switched it from the left to right and watched Ricciardo unsettle himself, and we're up into P10 then. So we've got 1 championship point in this position, but we could get 2 if we overtake Raikkonen here. So we've got 5 laps to go, and he's looking a little bit susceptible. You can see again the traction maybe not that great for him. We get a good exit, DRS open, using plenty of overtake mode. Rich mix engage as well. Stop using overtake mode, but by the time we get the brakes, so it doesn't matter. We're going to go round the outside, slow the thing down, rotate the car very awkwardly mid-apex Overtakes there, and we're up into P9 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But the fight is not over yet, because onto lap 24, towards the second last lap of the Grand Prix, Raikkonen closing back up. We're using plenty of ERS there. You can clearly see on the bottom right, but Raikkonen right up our gearbox and looking very quick indeed. So I feel like the Alfa Romeos have definitely got some sort of straight line speed upgrade, whether it be drag reduction or engine power, because Raikkonen waltzes past me. I wasn't too annoyed by that. I wasn't too kind of scared of that, because I felt we could maybe try and close up and once again make a pass on this second straight. So let's see how we do. We're a little bit slow though through those first two corners compared to when we were previously. Bit more of oversteer for me as the tyre wear kicks in. DRS open, use overtake mode again, but this time we're not really closing up enough, and I don't have that much ERS. You can see I'm nearly at single digits there, so I stopped using ERS a lot earlier than I did on the previous one. So now we are a little bit hot under the collar, because now we've left it to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Raikkonen, though, major issue there. Lock up on the front left. He's had a wobble on the rear end with the tyre wear kicking in. And so here we go, side by side into the high-speed left-hander and the right, round the outside. Fantastic overtake on Raikkonen on the last lap of the Grand Prix. But now we're going to run out of ERS. We've hardly got any fuel to use as well. That goes down. The ERS hits 0, and Raikkonen closes up, and just on the line, though, will maintain the P9 position and get 2 very hard-earned championship points. And we're going to get all our sponsor objectives, I think, of finishing in the top 12 and getting points, because both of those were the goals for our bonuses. So decent payout today as well at the end of this episode. In the end, really, really exciting ending.
It's never an easy race here in Azerbaijan. There's drama around every corner, but they've come through to take a brilliant win here today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
So surprisingly, actually, Ferrari looking very strong once again at this Grand Prix. Obviously, they had that double DNF at Spain, then a 1-2 at Monaco, and now they've come through for another very strong result here at Baku. So they're kind of coming back into that kind of AI championship fight between Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull. So always interesting to kind of keep an eye on that, of course. We may not be in the fight, but it's still a nice fight to watch on. But for us, we finally move up into 7th place of the championship. Just on a technicality, though, as we're level on points with AlphaTauri, but I believe I've got the highest race position, which is at Monaco last race at P5, so that gets us the championship position of P7, but still a long way. Like I said, I think this is going to be a lock-in battle all season with AlphaTauri, even Alfa Romeo, because they're looking a lot better these days, even though they don't have the points necessarily. But that was a very good Grand Prix. I wasn't too sure about that strategy, you know, but at the end, came through, and we were really quite quick, and last lap overtake for the that last position was really quite exquisite. A little bit stressful, but very exquisite. So we get, like I said, both bonuses for the sponsors, and so we've got a total of nearly $2.5 million after this episode, having spent $2.5 million at the start on that new fabrication on the aero department. So really a great episode for cash flow and money coming into the team there. So very good, efficient work. So guys, if you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.